first daily briefing was on the 1st of February, and it's been occurring regularly since then. And the reason why it was quite early in South Korea was because the first confirmed COVID-19 case was quite early as well. So that happened around 20th of January, so much earlier than in the UK. So because the virus reached South Korea earlier, the government had to respond faster as well. There's another reason why I think South Korea brought in daily press briefings from the very beginning, and that's because they have a much more recent memory of dealing with viral outbreaks. And one good example is in 2015, South Korea had experienced the outbreak of what they call the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or MERS, which is another type of deadly coronavirus, and it came from the Middle East to South Korea. And so the memory of having to deal with a relatively unknown and dangerous virus is very present in South Korea right now. And through experience, I think the government was quite aware that providing the public with clear, reliable, consistent information and reassuring them is something that was quite key. Experience from past outbreaks of viruses and what worked and didn't work in each experience is something that the government talks about quite a lot with the public, right? Lessons learned, what are we doing better this time, etc. So the current pandemic is, of course, a very extreme example of this, but it really is a part and parcel kind of part of a broader effort by the government and society in South Korea to deal with deadly diseases, right? I should note that unlike in the UK, the daily briefings in the UK, where daily briefings was led really primarily by political leaders like the Prime Minister and kind of supported by scientists, in South Korea, it was the other way around. Scientists really, public health officials, medical officials, and scientists really took the lead on the briefings, providing lots of information about the virus itself and not just about what the government was doing to respond to it.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that the scientists took the role and the politicians sort of took a back step. But in these briefings, when the politicians did speak, they sent messages of condolences to the relatives of people who died. What do I mean by a message of condolence, and why do you think that was so important? I mean, why were they sort of doing that? Why was the Prime Minister of South Korea sort of doing that in those briefings?
Yeah, so when there were people who died in the past 24 hours before the press briefing would often start with with recognizing that this is a very sad moment for the families and loved ones of that person, and sending a message of condolences directly from the government and the people at large to those individuals who are affected by it. I think it was quite important for people in South Korea to have this moment. Because the number of people who have COVID-19 and who have died from COVID-19 is relatively low. So if you are someone who was quite lucky in South Korea, you would not really know personally people who suffered from the virus or who died from it. So by having these direct messages of condolences and grief, South Korean people were able to kind of reaffirm their solidarity within the greater community that they're living in.
What does solidarity mean? How would you define solidarity? I mean, is it kind of being together, like supporting each other? Is that kind of what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think not in physical direct terms, because we're all socially distancing right now, but I think in terms of kind of feeling emotionally connected to people who are having a difficult time right now, more so than you in this pandemic.
But picking up on that idea of solidarity, what was there was a hashtag campaign, wasn't there? The hashtag is something that's used on social media to connect threads and things across. And there was a hashtag which was called #ThanksToChallenge. Can you just explain what that was?
Yeah, this was a social media campaign started by the government, and it was aimed to show gratitude to specifically medical professionals like doctors and nurses and other carers, but also to other people, organizations, even things that helped you get through this pandemic and help you kind of deal with this virus in this difficult time. And so visually what you do is you show your kind of thumbs up in a picture on Instagram and put the hashtag #ThanksToChallenge, and you list you kind of express your gratitude to whoever you want to thank in that context. And then you nominate 3 people to kind of carry on this challenge forward. So this was kind of pretty widespread campaign. Even the president participated in it. And kind of interestingly, one of the people, or one of the things that he thanked, was the Baby Shark song, for thanking it for keeping small children company during very scary times. So it really was about anything that really kind of helped you, stay positive and be part of this kind of national effort against coronavirus.
I love that I love the fact that he recommended the Baby Shark, or thanks to the Baby Shark.
Yeah.
Like, just my daughter would be so happy by that.